say hi everyone and welcome to the Artist Talk series. And for those that are here for the first time, welcome. My name is Sara Nuhairi and I'm an artist based in Abu Dhabi. And today we have Brahim with us all the way from the West Coast in the United States. Thank you for being here and waking up really early. So just a little background, I started this series back in April, and it was a way to have conversations with creatives and have that conversation truly be from a grassroots initiative and also have it artist focused as well. And it was a way to connect and learn more about other artists that I may have worked with in the past or just generally interested in getting to know more about. So here we are on our 14th talk. So thank you all for your support. Now on to today's guest. Sara Brahim is a performance and visual artist from Saudi Arabia. She grew up studying choreographing, performing, and teaching all styles of dance, going on to train at the San Francisco Conservatory of Dance. And in 2016, she graduated from London Contemporary Dance School with a BFA. Her work includes video installation, sound, film, photography, textiles, performance, and dance. She has participated in residencies and exhibitions throughout the United States, Europe, and the Arab world. Her work is rooted in experiences of the body such as identity, loss, borders, and immigration, using gestures of the body to form a language that can be used to voice narratives of things such as borders, home, language, and a relationship to the natural world. And I was honored to share a space with Sarah back in February at Hafla's Gallery in Jeddah as part of a group show called Intimate Dimensions, curated by Wijdan Lila, who is the founder of Sahaba Club, who was actually on last episode's curators panel. So if you're interested, feel free to check that out at a later time. And having shared that space, it created a very interesting conversation between our two works. And previously also exploring this idea or this term of between, that would be a great conversation to have today and bring her on this platform. So without further ado, Sarah, if you'd like to begin.
Sure. I just want to say thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Sada, for having me on this talk series. I'm excited to share some thoughts and work with all of you. So like Sada said, I am from Saudi. I'm born in Riyadh. But when I was really little, my mom took me to live in the States. So from like a very young age, I was kind of going back and forth and only visiting Saudi, not really living there. And then at a certain point, 9/11 time, to be honest, she didn't want to travel and go back anymore. So I think even without that, I would feel the way I feel, but that had a massive impact on my life, and feeling like there's always like this navigation of multiple cultures, and not feeling like 100% anywhere accepted or belonging. That's like the major theme in most of my work, and then just dives into like small pathways through that. Something that I wanted to do with all of you is the very beginning of my practice when I walk into a studio or a class that I teach, which is about really being present in your body and how that can lead us to transcend or turn a lot of like the pain that we've experienced into something else by like understanding ourselves better and knowing ourselves better. So if you're willing, I would like to go through like a very short exercise with everybody. And then after, I want to read something to you. So I'm going to turn on some sound. Sada, let me know if it's too loud. How is that?
Maybe lower.
Okay. Like that?
That's good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so if everyone can just put your feet both firmly on the ground and close your eyes, and I'm gonna guide you through a couple of things. So pressing your feet into the ground, starting to take 5 deep breaths. So inhaling all the way up through the space above your head, like your breath can touch the ceiling. And then exhaling out all the way down your body, through your feet, creating roots into the ground. And just do that on your own time for at least 5 breaths. And with each one, expanding even more out through the top of your head, maybe beyond the ceiling, and back down through every part of your bones, all the way through your legs and down, creating roots into the ground. Tracing up those roots back up through the ceiling. And continuing this breath, eyes closed, start to imagine choosing one memory from a time when you remember being truly happy. Continuing the breath. It might take you a moment to find one, and that's okay. Or it might come to you right away. Once you've found it, I want you to play the memory through as slow as possible, as if it's a film, and you're going through every detail, beginning to end. The colors, the temperature, the season. And still continuing to breathe. And once you've done that, keep that in the back of your mind and continuing this breath. Press your feet into the floor again, just to feel your roots. Taking a deep breath, I want you to think of one person who you'd want to dedicate this time to, this short time. Can be anybody. And once you've done that, also keep that in the back of your mind. So continuing this breath, we're just going to check in from the very top of your head with each part of your body, trying to release tension. So you can go as slowly as you need, but starting with the very tip of your head. Breathing and letting go of anything that you don't really need. Next, maybe your ears, your throat, your jaw, shoulders, rib cage, until you feel like you've released something from each part. Your knees, ankles, and feet. And just take a breath to hold space for that person and that memory that you chose. The next thing I want everyone to do is I want you to imagine that there's a light coming out of the back of your neck, like you're a lighthouse. And just slowly start to shine that light in different places. On the ceiling, on the walls around you. Just exploring, shining the light around. Great. Try to find an ending point. And let's just take a few more breaths together. At least 3. Okay, so you can keep your eyes closed or start to open them. But I wanted to read you something. And you can continue the breath if that feels comfortable for you. This is a piece that is from Patterns of Culture by Ruth Benedict, and it's a conversation between her and a native tribe leader in California. And he's saying, in the beginning, God gave to every people a cup of clay, and from this cup, they drink their life. They all dipped in water, but their cups were different now. Their cup was broken. It has passed away. Our cup is broken. Everything that gave meaning to their people, domestic ritual, economic system, successions of ceremony, standards of right and wrong, these were gone, and with them the shape and meaning of their life. Their people had become nearly extinct, but this is something that he believed had equal value to that of life itself. There were other cups of living left, and maybe they held some water, but the loss was irreparable. The molding clay had been fundamental, all one piece. It had been their own. So I just thank you for if you did that exercise with me. I hope you got something from it. I think it's a really amazing way to begin grounding yourself. But I believe this metaphor is so true and so beautiful about the cup of clay, because for so many of us at this point, we've like witnessed a lot of pain and this like impetus of separation of people or in lands. And we weren't actually the ones that were a part of that, but like we've definitely become like a generational product of it, and how it complicates so much of our lives and like our friends' lives, our colleagues' lives. So you can just witness it all the time now in the world and what's happening. And I think it's true. Like I can see it in my family and like my parents, that they're dealing with this thing that they weren't even responsible for, but it's broken now, and we're all kind of inheriting the pain of that and like how we all navigate that through our lives. So the first piece that I was going to talk about today is a film that I made called The Space Between, and I made it over 9 months researching when I was a part of a curatorial platform called Sumped. They're so amazing, by the way. And last year, and I just started conducting like interviews with artists or people I knew, asking, you know, what is it like for you from your culture to feel in between, constantly navigating, you know, maybe not knowing the language of your homeland or only knowing a little bit, and then always being pointed out somewhere else that you're different or exoticized or whatever it is. So just learning a lot that there's a whole group of people who are experiencing that same thing. And the film for me was a chance to create a new narrative that I hadn't seen before, that was telling a story of that frustration, overwhelming of like constantly getting voice notes or messages in different languages, and like trying to balance all of that, like time zones and family, and not even feeling comfortable in any place. So yeah, I wanted to share a clip of that, and then we can discuss more after if there's any questions.
And let me know if the sound is good and if it's laggy or not.
Hi Sarah, hi dear. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I went with the kids to buy some juice, and we had a nice afternoon, like just walking outside and like just around the neighborhood, which is mainly those houses we talked about before and empty spaces. But it's always a nice place to us to go and just to explore and ask questions of what is this and what is that. So it was nice.
I'm sitting out on the porch, back porch at my sweet little apartment and listening to the birds and looking at my little garden that I planted yesterday. And the seedlings I started,
I forgot
so
about
enjoying watching all
the
of
book that I'm
you
reading now.
watch videos.
I'm reading a book
that
maybe I told you about. It's called The New Life, الحياة الجديدة. كاتب تركي اسمه برهان بامو.
We were able to live in the same place.
It's in Arabic translated.
Drink coffee together.
I hope it's so sweet.
And just taking over my
I
life.
love so sweet to hear your voice and see in my mind's eye these amazing old olive trees. I love that. I wish I had never left Spain when I lived there. We were working with like 500 artists, actually, the oldest one in the valley. That's closest 50 years. Just to take this off, I'm having a lot of insomnia.
Okay, so yeah, that was just a short clip from the film. It's 14 and a half minutes long. And that was right in the middle, so like the very intense part kind of cuts off the whole beginning context. But yeah, my research and creating the movement and spaces for the film was basically starting with that exercise that we did in the beginning and letting it go for 1 or 2 hours, like trying to be as present as possible in my body in order to like connect with the things that are real for me, like and then also selecting spaces that reflected that for me, whether that's like spaces I feel really comfortable or spaces that make me feel really alone and scared and uncomfortable and all those feelings of being in a foreign place. And I would create like a language of movement that I thought, or movements that I thought described these things to me. And we would go to the space and shoot, and I would improvise mostly like with those main points of reference, but like improvising in between them. In my practice, I feel like I can be the most true when I don't do like set choreography, but I give myself time and space to react to how I feel, how my collaborators around me feel, and like take all that information and put it into the work. So most performance I do is like that, like these kind of pillar points I know I want to hit or like work between, but then it's improvised through that. Yeah, this image is from the beginning in the bookshop.
Sarah, what city was it shot in?
It was all shot in Portland. Yeah. Yeah.
These are just the video that I'm showing. Sharing. I had a question about that. You talked about a real intense, what you showed was a real intense, like 4 minutes. I was wondering how the color red played into that. Why was that like decision or choice made for that specific time frame?
I feel like the colors in each segment are really important. Like the beginning is a bit more warm, a bit more natural, like browns, and then this very intense segment, red, and then the end performance is like a glowy yellow or gold color. The red, I don't know. I think it, like red light like that cues this alarm for me, like triggering or like alarming, unsettling feeling. And I think that navigating like being displaced or just a life between cultures, it's not always so intense. Like there's aspects of it that are so beautiful, but I think I wanted to like make a moment of the piece that was just everything coming at the character at once. And to me it felt like that. Like I wanted the color that was like too much, like so intense and unignorable. And you know one of those times when all of your emotions clash. You're like, I don't know if I feel angry or upset or sad or frustrated, but you feel everything. And yeah, that was the choice for the color of that part. Yeah.
Sorry for the noises. But you said you would film for like 1 to 2 hours in almost each location, or
Yeah. Each location was exactly that, like probably 2 hours. And really like very, I don't know, the way I like to work is very natural. Like the plan is we discuss beforehand, the vision, and I like to be, as in line as possible with my collaborators about the vision, but allow like so much space for like magic to happen and things to work that we see that like maybe we hadn't planned for. So the filming to me also could be a live performance. Like it feels like I'm performing for who's filming or who else is there. It's, yeah, I feel like we all have to breathe together. We all have to warm up together. It has to be like everybody on the same page. And then the end scene we filmed like really late, I would say maybe like 2 in the morning, for 2 hours, and we're all so done. And it was really amazing because of the setting. I was kind of higher up on this platform that was a stage, and it was the last time, so like a few people came out to like help us and watch. And I think I did 3 takes of it, and we ended up not cutting them and putting them together, but using it as a single take. So the end scene hopefully feels like you're at a live performance instead of like cutting it and being like, these are all the best parts. I think any little flaw or like what would be considered a flaw that's there to me is good. Like I wanted it to feel natural, even though that's something that isn't so typical in film. Having, yeah, little flaw moments. But I think it's good to like start pushing that and a different type of space between, like you were saying, like between live performance and film more often, like creating films that feel like the audience is really there and they can really lose themselves without like so many cuts. Mm-hmm.
and this is a question about details, but I'm really interested in like what you choose to wear as well, because you work with like the fabric like on your body. Could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go on Vimeo, and I think it's on some channel, but yeah.
Yeah, I worked with a costume designer for the piece. Her name is Holy Voids, and she does so many amazing. Her clothes are from another world, which is what I really like. it was like all the pieces were kind of referencing clothes like from the Arab world, like lots of big shapes and like oversized or like different shapes, but then also like elements of them that weren't recognizable. Yeah, and I definitely love working with fabric and the clothes feeling like either a protective layer or like something really meaningful. So like in the end solo, I was wearing this jacket and it wasn't really planned, honestly. It kind of just slid off, but it did feel like quite natural of like maybe the character letting go a bit more, like needing less protection and finding a little resolve in the fact that like they're like this is the way things are, and that there's beautiful aspects of that and complicated aspects of that, but kind of coming to terms with like the positive is you can find other people that are experiencing the same thing and like navigating that together. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, should we move to the next piece?
Yeah, let's do that.
So the next piece I want to share is a live performance that I did here in Portland in March, right before the lockdown. It was like the last weekend before, and was a 9 months choreographic performance residency. Was working on very similar themes, but research a little bit different. Kind of like a constant research I've had for 5 years now is trying to understand the imprint that different places have inside of us. Like the longer we spend in a certain place or a certain landscape, and so if that's like you can heighten that by being more present in that landscape, or just like how we can keep different places inside of us. So the piece is also about like a transnational person, like a migration experience, but yeah, just like a different take on it, more focused on the body and yeah, connecting to this idea like very clearly of epigenetics, which is that we inherit directly our grandmother's trauma biologically because we were once an egg inside of her when she was carrying our mothers. And just like working with trying to describe movement languages, like using the hands a lot that will depict and I don't know, like really resonate and connect with that, that like that is truly in our body, like biologically, but also how can we access like these landscapes that have had an impact in us. And I was also working with the idea that especially in the beginning clip, that like my body or the body is kind of like our first land, or like the only land we really have to explore or like navigate you know, everything that's thrown at us. So yeah.
Let me know if the volume is good with this one as well.
I think the volume cut out maybe.
Sorry, I put myself on mute and didn't realize.
Oh, okay.
Okay, take 2.
So that clip was from like the very beginning, and I wanted to share a clip more in the middle towards the end because the piece is 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah, so it's hard to only show tiny clips of something that was live, but yeah, the first clip is the very beginning. There's like a series of back and forths with the projection of hands and my body. And I was also working with an amazing live musician for that show called Yara Valley. And yeah, all the sound was live, and she works in a very similar way that I do, that we discuss, but a lot of it is improvised and kind of like sensed between us. And after that, back and forth is probably my favorite part, but it wouldn't be very effective to show live or to show like this. But from there, I like spend 5 or 6 minutes like rolling towards the wall, but really slowly. And it's hard to explain. It's just absolutely my favorite because I think it's very symbolic in a way of like coming to realize something, or when you're when you're learning about and learning how you got where you are and why. And it's like the wall isn't really an end place, but it's like a place of some type of realization and acceptance, and maybe like meeting or connecting with that, like realizing the pain of the people that came before you was very real to them, and that's why things aren't perfect, but you're like meeting them at that point as a human for whatever reason, like you're old enough or you've lived enough. And I also think that rolling is just like a slow wave. It shows like really the heaviness of the body, the material that is the body, and like how we can use it to express these stories and everything like that. Yeah, and then it goes into this like shadow play of 3 directions, which can be interpreted however you think. And then the end focuses a lot on turbulence and the feeling of turbulence in the body. I recite a poem about displacement and landing in a foreign place, and kind of exhaust this repetitive motion while speaking the poem. So it's something I'd love to expand on more. I wish it could be, like 45 minutes, but it was a good opportunity to like, start building these narratives and start sharing stories of people who have these identities of being in between, because I think it's fascinating, and I think all of us, even if you don't have that experience, can relate to it, and then it'll just help you understand people even more, that it takes like so much to get, for some people to get grounded and footing and like build something. And I think these like diving into stories of transnational identity really expose that, and expose how related it is to like trauma and grief in the body. And I just wanted to share one last project, just some photos that actually came from this live performance, which I didn't think I said the name. It's called Bodyland, Back to Dust. And these photos I did, I'm working on a cyanotype series that are made with parts of my body, and the language I made with the hands that I used in that piece. And they're kind of just more focused snapshots of gestures that I thought really articulated like the heaviness and loss and grief that we can carry in our body. So have a series of like 30 so far, and I hope to build more and play with how they're displayed or seen in different ways. But yeah, those came out of like the research and development for the live piece. And yeah, I think that they're really beautiful like snapshots to dive into of those moments and like sense them in a more slow way.
They're even beautiful as photographs as well. When you're photographing work, I think, yeah, they're really cool.
Thank you.
First time, or not first time, or in a while that you've worked on a project that's a bit more like cool, or like, am I making sense? So like rather than like a performance or a video of a live performance, it's physical, like, I don't know.
In a way, yes. When I was in school in London, even though it was like a dance conservatory, we could do our dissertation on whatever we wanted. And so I did mine on the relationship between textiles and memory. So I feel like even, like that was years ago, I've always had this connection to textiles and fabric. And I think I've been building on that, but yeah, maybe I've never shown something. So I think the performance and then actually creating something with a textile just like married so perfectly to me, like the ideas, and like to me it's like a performance in a textile, if that makes any sense. Like it's still really important for me that it has movement, like even in the photos, like the one that you showed, it's like a double exposure that even the hands like have movement, and the weight of the fabric itself is light enough that it will always move, or in some way. So I think for me, like using any medium that will capture that is, I'm so open to using. But yes, I guess it is like the first time.
And you mentioned before, like the clothing in your performance, specifically the one called Space Between, protective layer, but these textiles, do they serve as something else, or like a metaphor for something? Because you talked about like textiles and memory, but I was wondering if there's more to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I'm very much in the beginning of this series, but I definitely want to perform with them and make a performance of making them. Like what I'm working on right now is like a durational performance to like imprint my body onto the fabric, and like taking the like a full photographic experience of a performance, if that makes sense, because cyanotype is imprinted when you expose it to the sun. So I think for me it's like all of those things. It's like imprinting of a moment, but then the textile is not just like a relic of that, but it's also can be used to be like wrapped around the body as protection after. Like you can hold that memory, you could carry that. You can use the imprint to also like let it go, or like recognize that that was something you held before. Yeah, I think like they're also a way to tell a story and like imprint a moment. Like I guess it's similar to a photograph, but I just think it's really beautiful that you can use the body as the material to create the photograph and imprint that moment into a textile. Yeah.
Hi, Sarah. I'm Sarah too. I just wanted to say that I was really, I mean, your work is beautiful, but I was really interested in, the hand gestures that you said you chose a heavy moment, and then you had it on sort of this light fabric, and how that was, really important to you because you needed it to have movement. And so I was just wondering if that contrast was super intentional of like the heavy gesture versus the light movement. Um,
Yeah, I think that movement is like a vehicle for change and like transcending pain into something beautiful. So I think the combination of the two is like we have to recognize, for me, I have to recognize like the heaviness and the grief, but like hold it in a certain way. And I think movement and embodiment like allows me to like keep processing and like keep understanding those ideas. So having movement be a part of something heavy brings like life to it for me, and I think that that's so important. I'm not sure, does that answer your question?
Oh, definitely. Definitely it does. And then I also just want to say that I'm really excited for you to carry on the exploration of you like taking your body and like printing it on fabric. And this idea of like fabric and textiles is something that essentially is, we wear. And so the body, and then it being transferred, but then what happens if it's transferred back onto the body? And that sort of like circle that you were talking about, how we ourselves deal with so much trauma from our grandmothers, and essentially it kind of ties back into the text. I don't know, that sort of exploration that you're doing is really interesting, because I feel like it's tying back into your narrative of passing on, and like this circle of trauma that maybe we're not aware of, but it's there, it's passed on, and it's continuous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the more we can understand that, the more we can understand ourselves and like hold on to the positive, not that everything's positive, but hold on to like what's good about that or nourishing. And then like the more you understand, the more you can maybe let go of the things that
Yeah, for sure.
you realize that they were in pain too, and like it's not their fault. That
For sure. I don't want to seem like I'm like keep on asking questions, but I'm really interested in your whole process, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. So last question, and I'll give someone else the floor. I just wanted to say as well, when you're sort of, you're moving your body, and I know that you said a lot of it is sort of in the moment and improv, but do you find that in, that process, you start to find new, new trauma or new emotions? I'm pretty sure you do, but like, how do you navigate through that while you're maybe in the process of filming, or in a process of improv movement, and how does that build up, or if it does ever build up into something else?
Yeah, so one thing that I think helps is it's a practice. So when I have the studio, I do it every day and I expect it. When I was 14, I was in the program that like introduced this type of practice to me, and it was crazy. Like some days you would be having the time of your life in this session, and some days you'd be bawling your eyes out, and sometimes you knew why and sometimes you didn't. And so I think I'm very comfortable with that, and I started teaching classes like that and had to get comfortable with like facilitating other people crying, which I still have a hard time with because I'm like trying to hold everybody, but like it's just a part of the process. And I think we hold on to a lot, and for movement for me is a way to let go. And so understanding that that's a part of it, like practice isn't going to feel good every day, but that actually like allows me to create like some really wow moments for myself. Like if you go and you find something, you can turn letting it go into something amazing, or like just as those like trauma moments come up, really incredible moments will also come up out of the blue. And I think practicing helps you create like a healing space to discover all of that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a question that was sent in from Aisha. She's asking, does sound make a difference in your performance, and how does it connect to you and your work?
Sound absolutely makes a difference. In the space between, I spent a long time like dancing and moving to voice notes that people sent me, and I decided to include some of them in the film, but that was really hard because almost all the time my friends are where I'm not, and so I'm always getting these messages at different times and different places, and it really, hearing someone's voice and them telling me about their day, it's really hard to accept and to move to that. But I think it was really good for me because I feel like I'm with them. It's like a very personal moment. I'm trying to think of the other sound. The sound that Yara and I created was really fun and amazing. She's so talented at improvising all these kind of like sounds that you can't really place, but make you feel either like grounded or in another world, or we would talk about wanting to feel in a certain landscape. And so being able to have someone to work with that can do that, and then I can perform to it, only will like allow me to dive deeper into what I'm feeling. And I like working with live sound in live performance too, because it's like there's a trust. Like hearing the sound that she's making makes me feel like somebody is there and we're like working together. We're navigating the timing together. We're creating these moments together, especially that it's improvised. Yeah. Sound is very important.
We have last question. They were speaking about preparation rituals or routines to help you tune into a certain style that you have in mind for your performance, but you did kind of go over that. So I'm gonna rephrase it and ask you, like, what cues like, do you have for yourself, or do you have like a set of rules that you put for yourself before going into a space? Talk a little bit about that, if that is the case.
To practice or perform, or just like,
I mean, sometimes you do practice and sometimes it is just like, do you practice every performance, or are some performances more organic and just like straight, you're going straight into it?
Oh, I see. For every performance, hopefully I get to practice in the space a couple times. I think as far as a rule going into any space, like the first thing I do when I go to a space, like site specific or in a studio or like a gallery room, whatever, is like, I like take walks around. I try to notice like every detail of the room, every corner, what it feels like. I try to notice how my body feels in the space, like this, almost the same thing we did earlier. Like I check in with every part of myself, like how do my feet feel on the floor, my hands, like taking in as much information from the space as possible so that I can like do my best to utilize the space and like connect to it in a way. So that's something I do when I go in the studio, even a place I'm really familiar with, because you come to spaces with like, you carry new things every day. So I think it's good to like, have a moment to connect with where you are.
Right. And last question, also from Sarah Nasafwan. asking, she'd love to know your position in regards to the female form, body, the physicality against the way women perceive their own body. Is it something that is working with each other or against each other?
Can you read it one more time? I want to make sure I understand.
What is your position in regards to the female form, body, physicality against the way women perceive their own body? Is it something that is working with each other or against each other?
That's really interesting. I think that's such a good question. I'm trying to formulate. I don't know if I understand the part about if they work with each other or against each other, but I think as far as the form goes, I've had a really long journey with my body, how it looks, how it's perceived, how I perceive it, just because I've been in dance for so long, like literally since I can remember. I was looking in a mirror, I was being judged, I was being told I was in the wrong positions, and to an abusive level almost. And so I think, although my experience was particularly intense, I think all women have that come in at some point in their life, like from somewhere. I think in contemporary, or for me in my practice, I've gotten to a point where I realized that like my body is a tool, and as long as like that tool is like healthy and nourished and working for me, then it's good enough. Like if you want to run a mile, like that can be your like parameter for judgment of your body, not like how it looks, but like, can you do with your body what you're trying to do, whether that's like complete a degree or like take care of your family or like whatever that is. And I had to go through a lot and like let go of the other judgments and things that come in about the body. But I think it's so particular to like your culture and what elements exist in your life. I saw that she added something to the question.
Yeah, she's just clarifying this part. She says in terms of how bodies are perceived within society versus how you approach it.
Yeah. I mean, it's really complicated. It's also a thing that like is about this experience and having to navigate like I mean, even you can see in my work, like I can't wear certain things in certain places, or even if I wear them in places where it's acceptable, it's like I'm still oppressed by a different place at the same time. So yeah, I would love to like have a whole conversation about this because I want to be able to understand exactly. But I think for me, like at the moment, trying to make work in very different cultures about the same subject, it's like for me about like I said, like my body is a material. It's like a space for me to explore and work, and also like a place to tell narratives from. So for me, it's working, and it's helping me achieve what I want. And beyond that, it's so complicated and so difficult. But I think like bringing that presence and understanding to it, trying to I guess in an aesthetic in a way to kind of like, I try to like minimize things as much as I can in my work and like performance. So it's really just like very clearly about the body. And obviously I'm a female, but it's not like having a stance, that it's more about like the topic or the theme. It's not, I don't know, I guess like trying to clear, it's hard to explain, trying to like clear as much as possible of like those judgments that come in and the distractions of the world, which is really hard, honestly, especially with costuming. I really struggle to like find clothes that aren't necessarily a reference to any culture, but are completely neutral, but then also show the body so you can see like details, but then that's not going to be censored because I'm showing it's like, it's a hard thing to navigate. It's a whole nother conversation I would love to have.
Well, thank you, Sarah. There's just one, where can people, is there an online platform or artist website where people can look at or know more about your work? And if not, is Instagram fine for communication if someone wants to reach out?
Thanks, Sarah. Yes. Instagram is the best way to reach out to me. If you want to see any of the performance videos, I can send links, because a lot of them I won't post the full thing online. And then my website I can put in the chat. It's down for like a couple of days because I'm adding stuff, but that's also usually where it has like a portfolio of all my projects. Yeah, I would love it if anybody wants to reach out and like continue conversations, or share work together.
I'm trying to get the website link. Okay.
Mine?
Yeah. All right. You said it's down, right? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, if you open it, it'll say it's down, but it's just my name. It's sarahbrahim.com.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone who joined and asked questions and just like joined the conversation with us this evening, from where you're tuning, morning, afternoon. So yeah, thank you so much, and a special thank you to Sarah for waking up early again. No, and just sharing your thoughts and your practice with us. It was a really deep, insightful conversation. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, and thank you everyone who joined. It was really nice.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.